All right, how's it going everybody? Peter Dusoni from Downtown Boston Realty back again with another tip on Tuesday. And this week I'm here to really drive home a point and break this misconception that a lot of you young professionals have out there that think that you're gonna be stuck renting for the next few years because prices of real estate are just too high for you to buy. So, big surprise, I'm gonna be talking about renting versus buying. And I know I've talked about this in previous videos, but believe me, you're gonna wanna watch this video from beginning to end because I'm gonna be talking numbers, and I'm even gonna be talking about a condo that's for sale right now specifically. So, real estate is all about location, 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 so we're gonna be talking about South Boston, which I know a lot of you out there are familiar with. A lot of you young professionals love Southie. It's a great area for the great nightlife, the atmosphere, the location. South Boston is just a great area overall for young professionals. So let's start with renting. Let's say you and a roommate want to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in South Boston. And it's nice. Let's say you want something that's been renovated. So let's call it roughly around $3,000 to be safe. That'll probably get you a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Southie. So you're gonna be splitting that down the middle, $1,500, not including utilities. That's money every single month that you're gonna be shelling out and you're never gonna get a return on. Not to mention the upfront costs that come with renting an apartment that many people aren't too aware of. You're gonna want first month's rent, last month's rent, a security deposit equal to 1 month, and if a broker is involved in any way in the deal, whether they're representing you or they're representing the owner, there's gonna be a broker fee involved equal to 1 month. So let's call it 4 months upfront that you're gonna need when renting. So for a $3,000 apartment, you're gonna need $12,000 up front. That means that you're gonna be cutting a check for $6,000. And let me tell you, just like with writing that monthly check, you're not gonna be getting a return on that $6,000 ever. And don't get me wrong, buying isn't for everybody. Some people just love the lifestyle that comes with renting because you're not really responsible for anything that needs to be fixed in there. If the dishwasher goes, if the sink's leaking, you can just reach out to the landlord and say, hey, this needs to be fixed. And they'll take care of it just like that. You don't have to really worry about it. But if you are a little more ambitious and someone who sees themselves wanting to build wealth for themselves, then buying may be the way for you. In fact, buying is the way for you. So let's take a look at this 2-bedroom condo for sale right now in South Boston. I mean, look at this place. It's been gut renovated. Look at all these new appliances, granite countertops. This place looks fantastic. All for a price of $550,000. And before you start to think, oh my God, $550,000, that's over $500,000. I can't even comprehend that number. Hear me out and let me explain, because it really isn't as much as you might think it is. So let's start with the down payment, because I know that's what a lot of you are waiting for me to get into, and you're expecting it to be this extremely large amount of money, but it really isn't, and let me explain why. You're gonna apply for what's called a residential loan because you're gonna be purchasing this property and living in it, claiming it as your primary residence. This also means that you will be able to put as little as 3% down as a down payment. 3% of $550,000 is roughly $15,000, $16,000. And I know you might be thinking that that's a decent amount of money, but come on, let's be honest. If you really tried to save for 1 year, you could easily come up with that amount of money. All right, so now let's talk about the monthly costs to own this particular property. So let's assume that you did put the 3% down, and I've already run the numbers on this particular property, and it comes out to your monthly cost being just over $3,000. That's including your mortgage, taxes, insurance, and condo fee. And does that $3,000 sound familiar? Because it should, because that's the same amount of money that it would cost you to rent a 2-bedroom condo just down the street, let's say in Southie. And let's keep in mind, you were never gonna get a return on that money. All right, so now you're thinking, oh my God, $3,000 a month is a ton of money. But let's keep in mind, you bought a 2-bedroom condo. So you're gonna be a smart owner and you're gonna bring in a roommate and they're gonna pay you $1,500 a month. Now, your costs, your monthly costs to own this property and build equity just got cut in half. And you're still the 100% owner. All right, now let's get really ambitious and think farther down the line. Let's say 2 years, because now that you're an owner, more options open up to you. So let's say 2 years passes by and you decide that you want to sell. So you've owned this property, lived in it, and claimed it as your primary residence for at least 2 years. You are now entitled to what's called the home sale tax exclusion. This means that you now are protected for up to $250,000 in equity from capital gains tax. That's $250,000 that is gonna be tax-free and go directly into your pocket. Now let's say that you don't wanna sell, but you wanna move on to something with a little more size, maybe a 3-bedroom condo or a house in the suburbs with a yard. That's perfectly okay. You don't have to sell if you don't want to. Now you can rent it out and you've officially become a landlord, and this is an investment property for you. Let's keep in mind that your monthly costs were $3,000. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have me, your agent, put it on the market and rent it out for you for $3,100, $3,200 a month. Now you are owning a property in South Boston that is costing you nothing out of your own pocket, and it might even be cash flowing for you a little bit. Now you have an income producing property. This stuff is not complicated. Real estate is very simple, it's black and white, and it's straightforward. If the numbers make sense, then it's a good deal. So let's continue to go off the fact that you've owned this property for 2 years now, and it's worth more than what you paid for it 2 years ago. That's what's called equity. So what you're gonna wanna do, and what I would do if you're ambitious enough, is you're gonna refinance this property. So you're gonna take a chunk of that equity out and you're gonna roll it into another income producing property, preferably one that maybe needs a little cosmetic work, some fixing up, and you can add value to it to increase that equity there as well. And then you're gonna do the same thing there. You're gonna refinance, take some equity out, and you're gonna roll it into another property. And this is that snowball effect that people start talking about. And before you know it, you've built up a pretty large real estate portfolio. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is you don't need to wait until you're much older to get into real estate. This is something that you can get into within the next year or so. Whether you just want to keep it simple and buy a place, live in it, sell it, move on to the next one, live in it, sell it, and then hopefully find your forever home and settle down, that's perfectly okay. Or if you're a little more ambitious and you have dreams of building wealth, and with real estate being one of those avenues, that's something that you can get started on working on now. And let me tell you, working in the real estate business in Boston, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of high net worth individuals, and they all have a common theme with their portfolios. They all like to have multiple streams of income, and it's very diverse. But I can promise you that real estate has been in every single one of their portfolios. So thank you all for listening. I truly hope that you took something away and that you learned from this video. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Just a little kickback, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, summertime with the